Well, welcome to the opening of the 2012 football season. It's great to have everybody here. Appreciate you being here. I know I'm just the leadoff act, and the people you really want to talk to will be around later on, but I'm really excited about this year's football season. Glad that we've got the first year, the obligatory first transition year under our belts. Really excited about Kevin Wilson and the staff. When I hired Kevin, I was really looking for someone who was serious-minded, tough, competitive, disciplined, and someone who's been there and done that. And I think Kevin's all of that, and I think he's increasingly comfortable in his role, and I'm looking forward to really good things this year. As you know, the staff stayed fairly stable. We had two adds, which in my view were upgrades. Seth Luttrell is going to lead our offense. And has a real history of organizing and leading complex and powerful, explosive offenses. John Fabris is a good throwback, and we're excited about him being around. You guys know these stats, but I'm going to say them anyway. 155 years of college coaching experience, 67 bowl games, 21 BCS bowls, 7 national championship games, and 2 national championships. The staff is otherwise intact, and I think that's an accomplishment all on its own, because I know multiple coaches have been offered more money at more established programs and have turned that down to stay here because they believe in Indiana football and they believe in Kevin Wilson. The returning players, I'm excited about that. Again, you all know the statistics. Played 32 freshmen, more than any other program in the country. A third of our starters were freshmen. 2/3 of our starters were underclassmen. Our underclassmen accounted for virtually all of the offensive production of the football team. And yeah, I get we were 1-11, so maybe that's not always the experience you want carrying over. But the experience that they gained, I think, will be extremely useful, and excited about the players coming back. I'm particularly excited about the newcomers. Kevin Wilson's first full recruiting class. We have 7 junior college transfers. I love those guys. They appreciate everything. They came from programs where maybe there's not as much support academically or nutrition-wise or whatever, and they really appreciate being here, and we appreciate having them here. They're quality young men. We have 8 Hoosiers in the class of 25, and to me, you can have stars and rankings and all that stuff that you want. I'm not sure how much that means, but I do think the marketplace means something, and out of those 25 kids, 16 of them had multiple BCS scholarship offers, and I think that's really, really important. That compares to 6, I think, the year or so before that, and what that tells us is we're competing against the Pitts and the Illinois and the Michigan States of the world, and not just the Toledos and the Eastern Michigans and the Akrons of the world. We are not the only high-quality BCS opportunity these kids are getting, and they're choosing us. And I think that's a bit of a sea change, and I think that's attributable to Kevin Wilson and his staff, the investments that we've made in the program, and their belief in Indiana football. The academics are very strong. Last year we had more academic all Big Ten football players we've had in the history of the program, 24. That's not an accident. A lot of you guys know about Wilson's weekends and the way Coach is very focused on having these kids on top of their academics. He knows when they have quizzes, he knows when they have tests, he knows when they've been to class, and the ones that aren't up to snuff pay a price for that, and we're showing outputs and results on that with all the academic all Big Tens that we have had. So I feel very positive about the program. There's a great feel out there this morning. It was a real treat for me to spend pretty much the whole practice watching Kevin and the guys. I was with Tom Crean, and he knows something about coaching a lot more than me, and it was fun for me to see him explain to me what he was seeing the coaches do in terms of teaching technique and staying enthusiastic and having high energy through the 2 hours. It's very organized as they shift from place to place, and kind of explained to me what he viewed as some of the thought behind the process, and Tom addressed the team, and I know that was well received. So I'm really excited about the team, and looking forward to the first game on September 1st. The 2 other things I want to talk about are our continuing investments in the football program, and then a little bit about ticket sales. I'll be happy to answer any questions after that. As most of you know, our first year was a momentous year in terms of investments. The north end zone opened, and a great credit goes to my predecessor as well as Coach Hepner and President Adam Herbert. Inherited that, but we got it open and we extended the improvements throughout the bowl and gussied it up so that the old grandstands were sort of in keeping with the new beautiful north end zone piece. We added the knothole park for the kids, took down the Stalag 13 gauge fence with the barbed wire on top of it and put in wrought iron, and just made some improvements to make the place feel more like a Big Ten stadium. The following year, we put in the scoreboard, which I think has added a great component to the game day experience. That was a very significant investment. The next year was really all about the concourse branding, spent close to $1 million in branding through banners and otherwise, our facility inside and out. And then that was the year where we made additional investments in our coaching staff, doubling the investments in our head coach salary and doubling the investments in our assistant coaches' salaries pool, and then adding strength and conditioning coaches as well. And then this year, the investment may not be as visible to the fans, although it'll be very visible to our prospective student athletes, existing student athletes, and coaching staff, which is the $700,000 new field turf practice field just on the other side of the stadium. We're also going to finish the wrought iron project, bring it on around to the west side of the stadium and replace the old gauge fence over there. And then you all will be particularly pleased to know that we are making, through the university at no cost to the athletic department, significant upgrades in our cellular phone capabilities. And I don't understand all the details of it, but we're going to split up Assembly Hall and Memorial Stadium, and they're going to do all their whiz-bang high-tech stuff. And they tell me that when it's all done, Memorial Stadium and Assembly Hall will be the most cellular-friendly intercollegiate athletic facilities in the country. So that'll be good not only for you all that are using that in your professional trades, but it'll be great for our kids and others who can text and find Junior and tell people where they meet after the game and all that stuff. So we're really excited about that. So I believe it's really, really important that we not rest on our laurels, that we continue to show prospective student athletes, coaching staff, fans, that we're going to every year make investments in our football program, because I think that's the only way we really get a program like Indiana's turned around. Finally, tickets. I'm really pleased to announce that we have our highest overall season ticket sales in 20 years, 1-11 notwithstanding. We are at 26,033 tickets as we stand here today. Last year, through the whole year, we were at 21,961. We're up both in our general public season tickets as well as our student season tickets. And I'm really pleased with that trend. The year before the investment started, if you will, the year before the north end zone opened and I started here, our attendance averaged, and this is attendance, not season tickets, but our attendance averaged 31,789. The first year the north end zone was open, we jumped to 41,833, and that 32% increase was the third largest increase percentage-wise of any football attendance in college football, and we've held steady with that. We've been roughly at that number for 3 years, which frankly I'm very pleased about given the challenges that we've had on the field. And I think people are coming back because they're excited about Indiana football, but also the experience and the tailgating and the knothole park and all that. I personally believe that we've hit a little bit of a ceiling that will probably progress from where we are now when the football on the field converts into more wins, and I get all that. But we're going to continue to try to have the greatest experience in and around the stadium that we can have, and we're confident that the play on the field will soon be at that level as well. We're promoting the $5 youth tickets as well. That's kind of our big push this year. We think that makes an IU football game very affordable for families. So you'll see that on our highlighted on our billboards and so forth. We've got a great schedule. I'm really excited about the schedule. 2 in-state teams at night, Indiana State and Ball State. Then we have Michigan State for homecoming. That'll be a noon kick. Ohio State at night, and then Iowa Hall of Fame weekend, and finish up with Wisconsin. So it's a high-quality schedule, and one that I think people will be excited to come see. So Bottom line is, I think we'll have a great year. We'll be good on the field. We'll have great experiences. Knott Hole Park's back, tailgating as always. The students are very excited. I think football is becoming an increasingly big part of student life, and that's reflected in our 12,000 student season tickets we've sold already this year. The bypass will be done at least to the north, which will help us with a lot of our fans who tend to come from that way. The folks who come from the south tend to know more the nooks and crannies and ways to get themselves there. So I think it will be, frankly, less negatively impactful that we continue to have some challenges with the bypass south of the stadium as the ones that we endured to the north last year. Exciting team, quality opponents, great schedule, and excited to get started. I'd be happy to take any questions, but I want to thank you all again for coming today. All right. That must have been very compelling.
How have you just seen sort of Kevin just evolve as a coach, as a person, a coworker, I guess, in the last year? How is it maybe different? How is it more comfortable maybe than what you're doing?
Well, hopefully, if we're open to growth, all of us get better in our jobs. And I'd like to think I came here with some skills to be a good athletic director, but I think I'm a much better athletic director now than I was when I started. And I think Kevin came here with all the skills and ability to be a great coach, and I think the upside on him was and is terrific. But that's a big step from being a coordinator to being the head coach, and it's not unusual when people have challenges their first year. You know, Barry Alvarez won one game, I think, his first year, and Kirk Ferentz didn't win very many, and Gary Barnett didn't win very many, and so forth and so on. So there's a lot of elements that conspire to make it challenging to be a first-year coach, but you're the CEO, and you're hiring a staff, and you're doing all that. So I think having a running start at it, and then just having had the experience of 1 year under his belt has, without losing any of his passion or intensity, has made him more comfortable in the role. 1-11 is a little humbling too. I think all that has come together to give him a new perspective on it. And I also think Kevin is increasingly committed to focusing his attention on coaching the team. It's easy to get absorbed in all the administrative stuff and hiring people and figuring out where things are. But over the summer, Kevin's taken a very deliberate approach to try to offload as much of the administrative stuff as possible so he can do the things he does best, which is coach football.
On top of that, we're going to just getting the infrastructure right. How long does that part of it take to making sure that everybody in your staff is doing it the way you want it done, as opposed to the way that you how long does it take to get that together? Does he kind of feel like, everything around him is going the way it's supposed to?
Right. I don't think that's ever done. I think that's a work in progress. I feel like our organization in the athletic department is improved, but it's ongoing. It's never checked off the list. It's a fluid, and I would think that Kevin would probably say the same thing. But he has spent a lot of time putting together a hierarchy and an organization chart and communicating expectations. Now that he's had the luxury of being able to do that in a way that I think will pay dividends in terms of his personal time being focused more on football and less on administrative stuff.
Fred Davis, there was released today that 3 more players have left the program. And would you like to see that situation become a little more stable, or do you think that this is something that's going to continue on like it did last year?
Right. Well, I don't have any comment on those player activities beyond what was in the press release, but you got to do what you got to do, and I don't think you can prioritize keeping rather than moving if moving is the right thing to do. I think there'll be less of that, this year than there was last year as the natural evolution of a program, but I'm confident that all of those decisions were the right ones, and I think we need to be careful not to set a preference on maybe someone staying when maybe on their own volition they want to go, or for the good of the organization others feel like they need to go.
From a scheduling standpoint, you talk a little bit about you and Kevin, maybe being on the same page with that going forward, and also a little bit about the naming agency. This is going to be a challenge in
Right. Well, I'm really excited about this year's schedule. When Navy is a reflection of us trying to have a quality BCS non-conference opponent on the schedule every year, and Virginia was part of that, and we have Missouri coming up, Wake Forest, South Florida. So our scheduling philosophy is going to be to try to have a quality opponent like that. And Navy, Kevin wasn't here when we scheduled Navy, and he reminds me that that's a tough opponent to prepare for in a variety of ways. Although he's readying up for the challenge. I think it'll be very cool for our players to go into Annapolis and see all that. I'm told that that's a pretty terrific experience, and then Navy will be here, and I think our fans will enjoy seeing Navy here. Candidly, Kevin and I haven't really done scheduling together. The Big Ten placed a moratorium on scheduling pending the decision of whether we were going to be eight conference games or 9 conference games, and then pending the potential collaboration with the Pac-12. And that moratorium was just released at Big Ten Media Days a week or so ago. So he and I will be putting our heads together on that, but Kevin doesn't shy away from quality opponents, and my expectation is we'll continue to schedule fairly aggressively in terms of having a quality BCS team on our non-conference schedule. Yeah, a big part of it is students. Even though we're up in both public and student tickets are up more significantly. And I think that's because kids are really enjoying going to the games. And I think it's more of a fabric of student life than it used to be. And the activities across 17th Street, now they end at kickoff, and we don't have a parallel party across the street competing with the football game. And some of those kids go home, but more of them come into the stadium. And my perception is that a student's perspective is in 4-year hunks, and it doesn't take much time to create traditions if you do it the right way. So by word of mouth, and the younger kids are going, hey, or the older kids are going, hey, you need to go to the football game. And that's great, because having a huge student contingent there is part of the atmosphere that we want to create. And old guys, like me, like coming to the games more if there's a whole bunch of students over there than if there's not. So I think that'll also have a kind of a spinning wheel effect to have more general public people come as well. So I think it's partly the students, but I was holding my breath a little after 1-11 how our public season ticket sales would hold up, and I'm thrilled that we're ahead of where we were last year. I think there's an understanding about what Kevin's trying to build. I think there's an enthusiasm for people feeling like we have some been there, done that coaches leading the team. I think the $5 youth tickets have been a big plus. We hear a lot in our customer research that families are buying those because of that, and I think it's a great game day experience. I think people like Knothole Park. I think they like tailgating. I think they got used to coming down a little earlier because of traffic, and they liked it. We have 3 night games, which I think is a real positive. I get there's another side to that pancake, but I think overall it's a big plus over a noon kick because families have soccer games and other stuff going on, and it's an attractive home schedule. So I think all those things have come together to put us in pretty good shape with our season ticket sales. I haven't looked at that, Mike, real closely, so I wouldn't have any comment about that.
Also, they came out with something that called 5, 7, 6, 7 teams maybe get into 6 and 7 get in bowl game. I don't know if you had a chance to see that either.
I have not. Sorry.
Sure, back to the night games.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any concern about your fans in the northern part of the state that they can't get, they're getting home too late?
Mm-hmm.
Those kinds of things. What are your thoughts there?
Yeah, there absolutely is concern about that, and especially troubling was it went from 7 to 8. I think that's a big difference. And so when we were offering up having night games, it was thinking it would be at 7 and not 8. But there are some downsides. I mean, we're trying to create a thing that's really fun for the whole family, and that gets pretty late, especially with little kids and with our great fans in the northern part of the state, or even down in Evansville. That's not the easiest place to get to and from. Those are potential downsides. But frankly, I think they're outweighed. Those downsides are outweighed by the opportunity for families that have other stuff going on during the day to come at night. Our students really respond to the night games. Those noon kicks are pretty brutal in terms of student attendance and even trying to get down here otherwise. So I acknowledge that there's cons as well as pros, but I think on balance, the night games are good for us.
You said the last season was 111, whether it was a transition year. That being said, what are the expectations for this season? We hope to see improvement, need to see improvement to continue to fan base.
Yeah, I think it's always dangerous to try to quantify improvement because there can be all different kinds of things come along, and I think it's a bit of a cop-out for an administrator to set some objective number, because that sort of takes the art out of it, and it's, well, what wasn't me? There's this objective thing that didn't get met. So I'm looking for improvement. We'll measure that in a variety of ways, but wins and losses are important, and we're not going to ignore that. But we're also going to be patient, understand we're building a program. That's why I gave Kevin a 7-year contract. I think we need to get a group we believe in and stick with them. That's what we're going to do, and we're not going to overreact if the wins aren't where we want them even in year 2.
There have been programs in other parts of the country that have struggled with and eventually got to Oregon to be down, Northwestern, Kansas State. Have you talked to any other administrators or people, or what kind of things can be done to sort of ignite a program?
I have, Rick, and I've also read, books about the turnarounds. Barry Alvarez's book, Hayden Fry's book, Gary Barnett's book, and it's perversely encouraging that if you change the names, you'd think you're reading about here, because they faced a lot of the same issues. The Bible says, I think there's nothing new under the sun, and I think trying to transition a football program from frankly as bad as we were to as good as we aspire to be, you go through certain phases, and I don't think you can short circuit those. And we went through our first year phase. Some of the things that I've heard that we try to do is tangibly demonstrate support from the administration, the investments that we've made, continuity at the top. I think it's a plus for us that Michael McRobbie has a long-term contract, that he hired me, that I intend to stay here for a long time. Kevin has a long-term contract. I think that gives comfort, hopefully, to assistant coaches and prospective student athletes and their families. So the commitment to continuity, the commitment to continuing to invest in the program, and that we're not going to overreact because of short-term challenges that sometimes are because you're not doing the right things, but I think more often is because you're doing the right things. They just haven't had a chance to take root yet.
At the same time, I know, I guess, there were some, I think you said earlier this year that the budget fell a little bit short last year. I mean, how encouraging is it to know that season ticket sales are up, that maybe some of the economic side of things had in black?
Zach, I'm thrilled because I was very concerned that after 1-11, and he's not the new coach anymore, and it's not the new end zone anymore, that we could have a fall off, and season ticket sales are probably your best barometer of the overall health of your attendance in your program. And I'm not doing jumping jacks and flips for a 26,000 season ticket base. I mean, that's pretty anemic, and it's not where we need it to be ultimately. But the fact that we're not regressing during this transition is extraordinarily comforting to me. And because of where we are in our program, we rely a lot on game day sales, single ticket sales. We've got high quality games that I think people will say, hey, they play Ohio State tonight. Let's go down and check that out. And who knows? We get a few wins, and things can get exciting pretty fast.
You've had a lot of different marketing bells and whistles that you've used over the past couple of years. Is there anything new that's coming online this year, and what can people expect?
Well, our paid media, if you will, TV, we're really highlighting both Kevin and the team as well as the experience. We think both of those things are attractive, and we're hitting home on those. Our billboards in print are primarily around the $5 youth tickets. I think you can only get so many messages out there, and we're focusing on that because we think that's a bit of a driver for families to decide if they're going to buy a season ticket or now come to the games. Those are probably the main things that we're focusing on this year.
How much do you think the success of the basketball team has had an impact on the football team, if at all? Because I know student tickets, you had to buy basketball tickets to get a football team as well.
Yeah. I think the success of the basketball program has had positive effects all across the athletic department. We've had a record year in our varsity club annual fund, which I think is attributable primarily to the success of the men's basketball team. There's enthusiasm, not only in the athletic department, but around the university that comes with men's basketball being where we expect it to be. And I absolutely think there's a carryover in football, not just because of the combo package on season ticket sales, but because it just creates more interest in our sports programs generally. And then, you know, when Tom Crean's tweeting to his 5 bazillion followers that this is going on with the football team, or I was out at practice, or all that, I mean, that helps. And Tom is almost as much of a football guy as he is a basketball guy, and he and Kevin are doing a lot of pretty cool cross-pollination on coaching approaches and recruiting approaches and all that. So I think in a variety of ways, fairly visible and fairly behind the scenes, basketball is helping football. Kevin likes to say, because, you know, Kevin's buddies say, well, why are you going to a basketball school? He's like, I'm not going to a basketball school. I'm going to a great school whose basketball program has matched the greatness of the university, and now the football program needs to do the same thing.
The Chick-fil-A is talked about your athletics. Somebody questioned whether or not the latest controversy, whether there was any contravening of the university policy, whether anything might change along those lines.
Yeah, Andy, you know, that's Chick-fil-A is also involved with the university, and that's really a university issue. In fact, I've got a statement, JD's got a statement for anyone that would like to have it from the university level, and we'll follow the university's lead on that. Anything else? Thanks so much. Really appreciate the time and the good questions. Take care.